It's the Dev Friday Show with Mark and Tim.
All right. Well, when was the last time you built your own computer?
Oh, that's an interesting question.
Like, when was the last time you, desktop, motherboard, hard drives, put it all together?
Has to be definitely over 10 years, maybe over 15 years.
Really?
I think at least 10 years. I think I was between, because I'm trying to think where I was working at the time is usually how I keep track of time.
Okay, yeah.
And so I don't think I built a computer. Well, yeah, I did a little bit of hardware engineering at the school, but really is mostly just, I just mostly just bought the computers already made.
Gotcha. It's been a while.
But you used to do that a lot in high school. I love doing that.
Yeah. I built the desktop, the development machine that I use now. I want to say it was almost 2 years ago. It was February or so of 2021. So a little bit over 2 years ago. Running great. It was back when you couldn't find. Well, I do not have the video card I wanted in there. I haven't upgraded it yet. I think I may have found not an excuse, but like a thing to do when I finally add that video card that I want. And it was back when I could barely get, I think it's the Ryzen 50 something. I forget what the actual chip is in there because I don't follow hardware all that much. But AMD Ryzen something or other was really popular and hard to find. I think I had to go down to, I went down to, Micro Center.
The good old Micro Center.
Yeah. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, you could only buy one of them, because they were trying to stop the resale market where people buy them all and then sell them on eBay or something like that. So I think I could just buy one of the CPUs, which is obviously all I wanted, and the motherboard that I wanted, and built the PC that I have now for my main dev system. It works really great. But those who know me know that I like System 76. All of my laptops, except for now the fact that I'm buying Surfaces, because now my portable is a Windows machine, where before it used to be my desktop was a Windows machine and my portable was a Linux machine. Now my portable is a Windows machine, so I'm buying Surfaces, and I tend to like those. But I love the System 76 laptops, and then they came out with the desktops, and the desktops looked great. But the problem I had with it, honestly, was I looked at the specs and it's like, I could build this myself. I could pick exactly what I wanted, and the price point would be a little less than this, and it just makes more sense for me to go out and buy it on my own. So why? But I looked at it, I'm like, but I really think their desktops look slick. I don't know if you saw any of the System 76 desktops.
I did. They're the ones that have the nice kind of, is it like a real wood paneling, or is it a fake? Yep. Is it a fake wood paneling?
No, I think it's real wood. You can pick what type of wood you want in the panel inlay. I saw a tweet from I think it's Carl Richards. If I hopefully I'm getting your name right. He's the owner of System 76, and he tweeted that now they are, Richel, I think I said that wrong. Sorry. And they're now selling the cases.
Oh, interesting.
So you can buy the case that they are using
and
for
then put
their
your
Helios
own
line. Hardware
inside of it. Put it yourself.
Right. Yeah. And that was the one thing I had to buy a case when I was building this computer. I had to buy a case. I looked at the cases. I'm like, okay, I'll go with that one, because I didn't need that big of a case. I didn't care that it had lights in it. I just want a nice looking case.
The only downside with those cases is that they are made to be somewhat compact, right? So if you want to have like a good number of slots for some reason, like if you're running some multiple cards for doing streaming or recording, or
you mean the Helios ones, the System 76 cases, or just cases in general?
Well, specifically System 76 or that style cases, I think you could definitely fit a good size video card in there, and maybe one or two other cards, but I think that's kind of it. Maybe it's two or three slots.
They have three cases. The Nebula 19, which fits a mini ITX, the Nebula 36, which does mini ITX, micro ATX, and ATX, and then the Nebula 49 that does an ATX and an eATX. And I think my motherboard's an ATX. So the Nebula 49, I think, is, if I'm looking at the specs, it's pretty sizable.
Okay,
it's pretty sizable.
How much are the cases by themselves?
The Nebula 49 is $329, which
does
is
it come?
a
Is
little
just
pricey.
the case? Does it come with a power supply?
Let me
Sometimes
look
they
here.
throw those in,
Yeah. I'm seeing what,
especially if the power supply is pretty unique to the case.
Okay, case dimensions, max power supply dimensions. No, it looks like you have to get the power supply, which I think for most people that are buying a case, they're going to want their own power supply.
Well, if you're getting some real wood in it, then I could kind of see that the price could be kind of worth it if it is some nice, good, polished, natural wood.
You can add those on. You can
Oh,
add
so that's
those
on top of the $300?
Yeah, but well, it's not bad. It's no, it's not bad. It's a you can get walnut for $20, birch for $20. They have an etched PCB traces, so I'm not sure exactly what that would look like. I'd love to see. That's the one thing I don't like about their marketing site for this is like you can select what accent you want, but you don't actually see it on there. It may be in their wiki where they have the specifications, but I don't see it there either.
Well, since you're building this for a Linux computer, I think this is the right path to go, because there's really is, unless you are going full Windows, I don't know if you're going to be trying to build a Linux computer. Yeah, I would just do it yourself. But it's interesting. So that the time you built your computer was the last time I did buy a computer, because when I needed one, and I really did want to have the 3080, the NVIDIA 3080 at the time, and it was during the pandemic. And just like you saw, the stock of video cards,
ridiculous.
It was crazy, and then the prices shot up like crazy. So to buy your own video card like individually was crazy expensive. They're charging like $2,000, crazy. It's super absurd. I'll never pay that much for a video card. Like I max out my video card cost maybe around, like, I think the most expensive video card I purchased at one time was probably like an $800 video card. But even that felt like, whoa, that's pretty much computer cost. Yeah, that's crazy. But I bought an Alienware just because the rates were really good for buying a built computer that was water cooled, and it had all the the CPU that I wanted.
So it was an Alienware desktop?
Yeah, and it came with a 3080. And if I actually spec'd it out and tried to buy all the pieces with a 3080, it would have been like $1,000 more.
Oh yeah, because you couldn't get that stock.
Yeah.
Like you can't find it in stock. Everybody who was selling it at that point, it was like whatever the manufacturer suggested retail price was. It was way more than that.
Because I did price it out. I was considering just buying the parts individually, just like you did, and putting it together myself. But at the time,
for that card, you couldn't do it.
For the card, you couldn't do it.
Yeah. And I still like to upgrade my card here. I don't know why though. Part of me, it's like, what am I doing with it? I'm writing code, right? So whatever I have in here, I think it's an NVIDIA. It's really a card that's designed for, honestly, probably for what I do, right? It's got 4 different mini DVI or DisplayPort, four different DisplayPort outputs that I can run multi-monitors on it. Is it going to render a bunch of fun stuff and play games very fast? No, but that's not what it's for. It's for a person who's running multi-monitor, which obviously I am. Works great on Linux, and I just kind of, in my mind, when I was speccing this out, I was gonna 2 years ago, right? I was gonna build a computer that had the video card that, should I want to get, say, the Valve, what's Valve's? Is the Valve Index? What's Valve's?
The VR, their headset.
Yeah,
that's a good question.
I was gonna get a card that I could either do that or the Oculus on it if I wanted to.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, I can't get that card right now, so whatever. So maybe it's time for me to refresh a little bit of this and then put it in a new case, because I'm
like hearing that companies are going back to possibly building things more modular.
Oh well, System 76, like System 76 is the, I don't know if I
or give you the option to buy
child.
Individual pieces, then give you the choice of saying, okay, I really like the case from this company, and then I want to get the video card here, my memory, CPU, and drives. I just want to have some flexibility with how I'm going to be purchasing them, and I'll put them together myself. And I like the fact that they're doing that. I'm always tempted by, do you know about the Framework laptop?
Oh, right. Then that's everything's little modules that you kind of just click
so
in
basically
together, right?
It doesn't come built. I don't know, maybe you could pay for it to have them pre-built, but why would you do that? But basically they'll ship you to it. Every part is an individual box. You even put the LCD, you select your LCD panel and then you basically, it's interesting watching the video for how you install it. Basically you unsnap the plastic. It has like this magnetic adhesive, goes to the frame, and you put the plastic frame around it. It is built with like an aluminum case. That's kind of nice. So it kind of looks like you kind of have that MacBook Pro type feel to it.
Right, right.
Which that's also why I like the Surface the Surface laptops, because they have a nice kind of built finish to them. But yeah, I like the fact that they're very modular in how they sell the products. You can buy, you could buy all the pieces at one time, or you could build it piece by piece. And I think some of the, like, you could buy, like, if you wanted to get like your own SSD or like your own M2 chip for storage, you could probably buy that someplace else, because those are pretty
For the frame for the framework laptop, or
yeah.
See, that's what I don't think I ever dug into it deep enough. I could see that there's different module parts.
Yeah, there are some like the batteries are going to be unique. Some
Right.
pieces that are going to be unique to that design, but a lot of the pieces are designed to be modular too. So that's nice.
Yeah. And System 76 has long been a proponent of the whole, if you buy it, you can fix it. Like that, which is the opposite of a lot of other tech manufacturers, where it's like, no, if you can't open this, because if you open it, you void your warranty or whatever. But I mean, you can open it, but they don't even support the idea of repairing what you have. It's like, no, we don't want you to repair it. We make it difficult to repair. And System 76 is, as far as from what I have seen, has always been on the opposite side of that, which is to say, we're going to open source whatever we can so you can fix it.
So I'm also a big System 76 because of Pop OS.
Oh yeah, I love Pop OS.
Love the Pop. I'm always tempted to go back. I'm like, should I just?
You should. You know what
I
you
was
should
tempted.
do? You know what
it's
you
the summertime.
should do?
I was super tempted to do it. But
this is the summer of Mark, and we need an update. We need an update on all of the job offers that you're turning down. But before we get to that, I feel like you've been doing a lot of work, sending out these what do I want to say? Sending out the letters for different applications, and you've been
I've
pounding
definitely
the
doing some
pavement,
work.
as they say, right? Pounding the pavement.
Different type of work that I did not anticipate, but yes, I definitely do some work.
You need a little bit of a break. You need something else, and I think what you really need is you need to buy one of the Nebula cases, and then take a quick trip down to Micro Center, and you need to build yourself a Linux box that you just run Pop OS on. You don't have to worry about, whether it's compatible with, whatever your other system. Run Synergy or Seamless, or whatever you want to call it, the app that I run, so you can just keyboard mouse between the two, and then get back to those roots of building your own computer, running Pop OS. That's it. I
don't know if I would do that for desktop. I was super tempted by I think I told you about this, the HP one. That was the collaboration between System 76 and HP.
Oh yeah, that was a laptop?
Yeah, and it's sold out. I don't know if they're going to be making any more of them, and I wish they would, because it looked really, really cool, and it was a reasonably priced laptop that had some really good specs. It was a collaboration between HP, which I don't know who produced. If it was System 76 who made, I think it actually maybe HP produced it, but then System 76 designed it, and so it is called an HP One, and it was a Linux laptop.
It was a dev one, right?
Yes, it was dev. Yeah, so it was the developer laptop, and it had great specs. It was about around $1,200. So I think for the quality of the laptop that it was and the specs that it include, I was super, super tempted by that. And that was on my list of future purchases, because I would like to have a dedicated laptop that is just Linux. And I could deal with that. But I think as a desktop, I kind of like all my desktops kind of work the same. That's why I went back to Windows, because it's a little bit more safe for me to use when it comes to video, audio drivers, and everything like that. And yeah.
Now I'm looking, I don't know which one it is, but I thought I saw that they were, for the first time, going to be building a laptop all in their manufacturing facility. System 76 was. So there may be coming a System 76.
Oh, okay. That'd be nice.
Built over here in there, because they're obviously, when you look at some of the other lines, their laptops, you can say, all right, I've seen that in other manufacturers. It's kind of, what do they call them? It wasn't white label, but it was like I forget what the term was about it was a chassis for a laptop that you could slap it on. And I mean, it was really big back then when computer shows were more of a thing, right? Yeah. You go and there'd be like these one-off, it's kind of like a boutique brand of high powerful laptops. They're not compact. They're not Lenovo. They're not whoever was making laptops back then. But really, they were just getting these OEM shells from probably from China, if I'm not mistaken, and putting in their specific components. And System 76 was doing that as well. Just the nice part of my understanding of what they were doing was they were ensuring that whatever hardware they were putting in these things was compatible with Linux. Because again, this is my understanding. I'm not in the manufacturing industry, but my understanding is like if you're buying a Dell laptop or something like that, they have specs. You're going to get this processor, right? But some of the other things are a little bit whoever they could get that part from the cheapest, in this. So if this is if they're probably all completely compatible with Windows because they have to be, and Windows is great about being compatible with everything. But yeah, you might run into a weird issue with like, well, why does this same model Dell run fine with Linux, but this one doesn't? And it's because the hardware may actually be different under the hood. There may be some slight differences because they were just selling you, it is this type of drive at this speed, this capacity, not telling you what the hard drive controller was. Those things may not be consistent, whereas System 76 would build them in such a way that they're consistent and they consistently work with Linux. But I'm excited that I think they're being able to manufacture some in-house, which isn't really a commentary on what country the hardware comes from. It's a commentary on the fact that this is a Linux first system builder that is now able to control the entire process, which to me is really, really interesting.
Tim, I have a sickness.
Oh no.
I realized this week, well, not realized, but it's something that I go back to because what I was also doing between our 2 weeks, since we've been off for 2 weeks because
I know
family stuff, and we, maybe we'll talk about that at the end. We'll get a little update on the family updates. But one thing I was realized with the fact that there's part of me that wants to go back to just having one computer. I wish I could. Did you ever have like one time in your life, let's say you just had one laptop, and that was your one primary laptop, that's all you did all of your work on? I was a few points in my life that was the case, and I was really, really happy back then. Now I have 4 different computers. Now each one does have a different purpose. Like I'm at my standing desk that I do this show with you, and also I prefer to do like my classes, my lecture videos. It's my one computer that I have two screens, so it's easier for me to do video recordings on. But I have another computer that's mostly that has my 380 in it, so I can do some work on, but also some gaming. I have a computer upstairs I pretty much just have for when I get kicked out of my office because my daughter also likes to game, and I have her computer down in the basement with my office, but she doesn't let me be down here when she's gaming, so she kicks me out. So when that happens, I have to go upstairs. So I have another kind of small little computer but I still have a nice monitor that I could use. And then I have my Surface Go laptop. So I use that when I'm at the coffee shop or maybe on the couch or outside on the deck. So I have all these computers, and I have a sickness where like I need to have them run exactly the same way. So that's why when I get tempted to go to Linux, and I always do this every other month, I always go, oh man, I remember the times when I had that month, I was just working on just Pop! OS and coding away and doing my development on Linux. It was such a great experience. I want to have that again. And then I started thinking, well, if I do that, then I'm going to have to basically run Pop! OS on every one of my computers, which that's just, I don't know, crazy, not appropriate, too much work. But I don't know, because I need to have it, because in order for my mind to have some sanity when I'm at a computer, I need to basically want it to work exactly the same everywhere that I go. But you don't have that issue.
I don't, because I don't do this. To me, I do certain things in certain places, right? Like I have my dev system, which is really 2 computers, right? It's the Linux, it's the Surface Studio plus my Linux box. And then I do have a Surface Pro. That's just hey, I need something to I just need to check something online or do something quick. The biggest issue I have is when I'm working, say, on some type of design stuff, where I may do that in Inkscape or in CAD or something like that. And so am I running Fusion or Inkscape on the Surface or on the Surface Studio or on the Linux box? And each one is slightly different. Not so much because it's all Inkscape, but just like in terms of what my workflow is, right? Because I have multiple monitors on the Linux box. So, there's certain things I'm like, I'm just going to go do that on the Linux box because that makes it easier for me to do it.
So from an operating system and a software configuration standpoint,
Yeah.
you don't really care. You like, it doesn't really matter. They're all different setups on all your different machines.
It doesn't, because it's like I don't run my IDE on any of the windows. If I'm going to try to do development, I'm going to connect back to my
That's right. You do
Linux system.
the remote development with JetBrains, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't do
That's
a
what you do?
ton of that, but
I was
when I
thinking about
do,
trying that
that's what I
out
do.
because I do, like I said, I have my fastest computer that's is in my kind of my side area in my office that I use for gaming, and I use for if I was going to just sit down and work on something for a couple hours and I had some privacy, I was just going to just work from there. But I have thought about, though, my computer I have upstairs that I go to occasionally, that's like off from the dining room, sort of like a spare computer that I can use every now and then, but it's definitely not as fast. It's actually one of those small little cube computers. You ever see these? They're super, super small, low
Oh
profile.
yeah,
It has like
yeah.
an i5 and it has 16 gigabytes of RAM, so it's great. But if I want to run any like a really heavy application that's pretty demanding, it definitely could start to feel it. So I was thinking about doing what your setup here is, like trying to play with the remote development experience with JetBrains. I've also been kind of getting back to some JetBrains applications and kind of testing them out, and kind of just running it from my primary computer downstairs in the basement when I somewhere else from another computer. Because that's kind of similar to your setup too, right?
I don't do it, like I said, don't do it a lot of times. I'm usually just on my main dev system. But yeah, when I do remotely, I will or when I
And you find the
when I
performance
program.
isn't too inconvenient.
For as much as I do with it, no.
Okay.
Which again is not a whole lot.
Is there any delay when you're typing your keystrokes and seeing the characters return to the screen, or is there any like delay that you find when you?
No, not really. Because what JetBrains is running the UI kind of locally, so there doesn't seem to be a lot. I find that to be an issue when I'm using Code with Me, which is their collaborative kind of code with another developer concept, and that I can sometimes I'll type and it won't catch up, and I won't know that because on my screen it will have looked like it moved, or I'll have expected to move, but it didn't, and I'll end up typing over something else. So Code with Me is sometimes a little slow.
So you're just using your machine that you're remoting into to primarily run like your Docker, like your servers.
Everything, like the way JetBrains works.
But the JetBrains, you said the IDEs actually is being run in memory on the computer that you are.
The UI for it, I think, is yes.
Okay.
The UI, but everything else, but the actual. That's what's kind of weird. They've split it, and the UI. It's not like I'm going through a web browser. It's not like I'm doing a VNC type of thing. The UI is, as far as I can tell, running in a thin client on the what you would call the client system, but the actual IDE itself is running on the server that it's connected to, because it installs it, and that's what controls what version you're on. So all of the indexing, all that kind of stuff, that's happening on my main dev system where it should, because that's the most, that's why I want to run it there. But yeah, I've been reasonably happy, but again, I don't do a whole lot of that. I do think that's going to get better and better, especially since JetBrains is using that for their was it JetBrains Spaces? Is that what they call it? Like their whole completely hosted development environment. Yeah. So I feel like it's only going to get better because of that.
I'm checking out because I did get my educational license renewed with them, so able to take advantage of their software for free.
Wait. Your education license, as you tease that you may not. Okay,
I'm trying to milk as much as I can, Tim. I got to take advantage of these the resources that I have.
All right, I want to circle back to this because I was talking about, what is it? Looks like earlier this year, there were some pictures of a laptop that they're working on, the chassis and everything that they're working on manufacturing. So it's not out yet, but it looks.
Does it have a nice aluminum finish?
Yes. Yeah. Well, that was the thing. Yep.
Nice.
Yep. It's milled from aluminum, and they're
so maybe that the HP Dev 1 laptop that they collaborated with HP was just basically a test.
I don't know. I think
maybe to work through some design issues, and then
I don't know. Like I feel like that was basically HP hardware, just with built to run on Pop OS, or built for to have Pop OS run on it.
Yeah, because it was when the website that it was being sold from was an HP website.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it was custom to that computer, but it was looked like HP.
Remember when Dell did that for a couple years? Like they tried they made laptops that I think they shipped with Ubuntu if I'm not mistaken, and they had other
Mm,
laptops that
mhm.
they kind of certified were compatible with Linux. So,
Yeah. Oh, what do you think about, since we're talking about open source? What do you
oh
think
boy.
about Red Hat going all proprietary with their? You hear about that?
No, I did not.
The
No, what
open
is this?
Well, I know you were having a kid, and so you probably weren't in the news cycle, but that was in the open source world. Everybody was freaking out about that online. Well, not freaking out, but just making a note of like, oh, it's Red Hat. They're just going all commercial. Their enterprise version of their software, they're making closed source, but then they're going to be releasing parts of it downstream, so that CentOS, the community version of Red Hat software, that basically is the downstream version from their enterprise version,
Right, right.
we'll still get updates, but it's going to be much more restricted updates, because they're pulling away. They're going a little bit more proprietary, pulling away from the open source in their enterprise product.
Okay, so are they not? I'm just looking through a really quick article
Well, it
here.
comes back, yeah, it comes back to licensing, right? Because I
Are
think
they end of lifing CentOS though? Are they not going to
no,
be
no. Well, that CentOS is still the community open source
right?
version of it that they still support. But I guess the updates, they're going to be a little more restrictive on the updates that go downstream to CentOS, because they're going to keep some updates. They're going to keep it more proprietary to their enterprise
Okay.
software, so that they could get more licensing,
Oh yeah.
fees associated with that. Because enterprise, you probably, if you ever worked at a company who's like wanted to run like a Red Hat, but then a Red Hat enterprise software, but they just defaulted to CentOS because they knew it was free.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Red Hat has decided to continue to use the customer portal to share source code with their partners and customers while treating CentOS Stream as the venue for collaboration.
So I thought that was kind of an interesting move, because I have been taking a closer look at Red Hat too, because of kind of seeing how they're because of Amazon Web Services. I kind of curious about how they're using that, and also how they're they have partnerships with IBM, with Amazon Web Services, and I kind of just taking a look at their business a little bit closer, because like I said, I have been looking at opportunities, Tim. So Red Hat was an interesting company that I was seeing what positions were open there.
Really?
Well, if I was going to pick, like, it would be kind of cool to work. If I was going to pick, like, work for an open source company and have some, feel like, because I want to kind of stay within the enterprise kind of large business space. I think that would actually be kind of interesting company to work for. Also, the location is kind of interesting too.
Where are they?
North Carolina?
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. Are they on prem then for most of it? Like, is it?
I'm not sure where their
remote, or I
if
don't
they
know.
have headquarters anywhere else. I just been primarily taking a look at their North Carolina location and kind of see that's their headquarters. That's where their primary location is. So that was kind of an interesting open source news that kind of popped up. that people
Yeah.
talked about. The other thing, though, between the last 2 weeks, there's a lot that's been happening
Really?
in my domain, where I've been like this. I've been spending a lot of time studying, working through
Okay.
Amazon Web Services, getting
Okay.
back to that,
Okay. So here we go.
working on my certifications.
We need the Summer of Mark update.
Well, the summer market is going to be a little bit light, because what I
Okay.
realized as I was towards the, like I said, the beginning of, beginning of June, I said I was going to start this process. I was going to start to submit applications. I did submit one application to AirProx, so we talked about, and I was like, didn't hear back from, but I was like,
Have you heard back yet?
no, I was in the type of position. I was like, no, I was like, even so, I just did it because I had this goal. I wanted to send out one application, so that's what I did. And that was the only local company that kind of thought I don't know. I don't even know if I'd want to work for, but it was just something. So I just threw that there. But then, as during the month of June was also working, I took the Microsoft, Certified Cloud Practitioners, Amazon's kind of first certification. Got that, even though I probably could have skipped it and just went to their solutions architect or their developer associate certification. But I just wanted to, it's been a while since I thought about taking like an exam or certification exam. I kind of just wanted to use it as like a test run to kind of see what the process was like. And so I did that during the month of June. And then as I was looking at all of these job offers, job descriptions, if I really want to get, let's say a cloud architect, solutions architect, cloud engineer, specifically with AWS, because that's what I'm focusing on, they're all requiring, like, let's say 1 to 2 certifications within certain levels. All the interesting job posts that I'm kind of interested in, they all require the certifications. That's what I'm mostly spending my time on.
And these are jobs at companies specifically to do this for, like an AWS, like a solutions architect.
Yeah, either either it's a consulting company, where it's
Oh,
a
so they're an
they're
AWS.
providing
Gotcha,
partner, they're
gotcha.
providing solutions where it could be an internal solutions architect that they have a heavy
That's
infrastructure
it.
on
That to me is
AWS.
interesting because you feel like those people would lean on AWS to say, "Hey, I need someone there to be my solutions architect."
Yeah.
But no, they're actually just saying we're
So
hiring that
I'm
person
not sure
internally.
how much Amazon charges for
Yeah, well, that's
the
true.
consulting services.
Yeah,
So those are the type of job offers positions I've been
and
really,
they
really
all
interested in.
require a handful
They
of
all require it. So then I was
certifications.
like, okay, so that's really what I've been focusing on. So I'm gonna let's schedule take the next one next week. So I'm gonna do that, and then I want to get at least what the solutions architect and then the developer associate one. Probably should have just taken the developer associate one. I probably could have done that already, but so that's kind of on my list, and that's what I've been focused on. And then when I do that, then I'll start sending out some applications because I don't want to do this spray and pray approach where I'm just going to be throwing out a ton of applications, cover letters, resumes, and then just see what I get back, which I
Right.
was going to do, but I was like, I don't know. I've never really done that in my past. When I've gone for a job, I usually have pretty like, yeah, the title of this episode is laser dependencies. Yeah, pretty much laser focus on one or two or three positions and then really working to try to get an offer at one of those. I never had the sense of like, oh, I'm just going to throw out like 100 applications, which
And
people are
see
doing.
what happens.
And it
Yeah.
is a tough time. It is a tough market. And I think, it is very competitive because of all the companies pulling back, especially in the tech sector. So
I
maybe
did
that
see
is
though the usefulness of your plan of say doing a bunch of them just to get like familiar with that interview process again.
correct. But what I realize though, the type of position I want, if I'm going to be going in interviews, I also want to make sure I'm prepared for it too. Because the other reason why I'm
Right.
using these
Right.
certificates, not just for fulfilling that requirement so that my resume can get through the first kind of automated requirements search so I can actually get to the next level. That's primarily what you want to get that certification for, just so you can get your foot in the door there, but also just to prepare you on the technology, right? Because it is, even though have been done some work on AWS, mostly from like just working with like S3 and EC2 instances, and just did mostly for like VM hosting. That's primarily what I've used, like Amazon or Google Cloud or Microsoft Azure. It's just basically just doing VM hosting here and there. So I have done some work on that, but not really kind of taking a look at the architecture and thinking about how their platform is set up, and to think about all the offerings that they have. So I'm spending a lot of time just studying and kind of doing some tests and doing some practicing, doing some practice exams too, to kind of help prepare myself for. Because also when I get in the interview, I want to make sure I'm prepared for it too. Don't just want to wing it.
You remember GraphCat, right?
GraphCat, yes.
GraphCat?
Yeah.
He's apparently taken some AWS
Isn't he
certifications
working
as well.
for Tesla now?
That's what LinkedIn says.
I think it's on LinkedIn. Yeah, he's working as some type of solution something for Tesla or something like that.
Yep,
So,
yeah, but I've seen some posts from him on passing some AWS certifications.
So along with that, which is also interesting too, because then Amazon went down 2 weeks ago.
How did I miss that one?
In their US, which is interesting. That week,
which region?
It was US. It was the US East 1.
Oh well,
it goes down every
all the time, right? Like that's you don't put something in US East 1. I mean, everybody knows that.
But it was
they're running on Pentiums there, Mark.
It was an interesting. I think it was the beginning of the week. I think it was the beginning of the week. So interesting. Two things happened that week. It was the downtime AWS and US East 1, and also a ransomware hack in the government, and a lot of also educational institutions with this. What is this software called? The Move It software. I don't know if you heard about this, the data breach that happened.
Apparently have not been paying attention to anything.
Like, I don't know too much about the software.
Which is, I think, something worthwhile, though, to just send that message out to ransomware people everywhere. I'm probably not going to respond quickly. So if you've got my data and you want me to pay you some Bitcoin to get it undone,
the trick is if you don't respond,
send a couple emails.
They'll stop bothering you. That's the thing too. If you ghost the ransomware emails, they'll stop sending you those emails. I've noticed that because I used to get those emails too. It's like, oh, we have your information.
Yeah.
You better contact, because once you reply, once you contact them, then they have you. They have you in the hook. Then they're really going to target you.
Ask him if they can just buy some gift cards and then send them in the mail, and I don't know, just try to scam the scammers back with a different, I don't know, scam or something.
So
like
it's
that.
just,
ransomware.
I don't know too much about the software, but I guess it was a ransomware data breach. I guess a lot of data was stolen because this Move It software is a cloud hosted software and also this kind of a file transfer service. It primarily
Mm,
for
Move it.
government institutions. It seems like most of their clients, especially that were breached, are government or educational institutions and some big private companies, like Shell, Oil and Gas was
It's kind of big.
hosted on there. So basically, a lot of data was taken. But the interesting thing about it was the software, the company who owns the software, and that's what was blowing me away, is Progress Software. So I talked to you about that a couple of weeks ago, right, when we talked about how I became a developer, and the first software that I used outside of college for
Yeah.
programming databases was Progress. It was Progress. They have a database. They used to have a Progress database and their own language. And I checked their website because I haven't taken a look at the Progress website
Now
in
it's
years.
all just ransomware.
It's-
That's all they've built.
Yeah, that's what they specialize in. But it's pretty much, I think they're just a .NET shop now, and but they bought a lot of companies. And I think I don't know if they built this Move It platform or if they bought it. But they buy a lot of enterprise software companies, and then they
So is the
basically just resell them.
was the breach on them, or was it like a 0-day exploit that then they
Well, they're getting sued now. It's interesting. I checked it out before the show because I wanted to kind of see if there were many more updates, and so they're getting sued. And the suit is saying that Progress failed to have the proper security procedures in place. They did not do proper training, so basically it could come down to human error and why this somebody gave their password to something or their keys or to someone that they shouldn't have, and maybe that was the source of the breach. But they're getting sued now. But it was kind of interesting. So it was that, and also think about the AWS, and the AWS downtime was interesting too. The one thing I thought was
how much went down there, because it was just I know, like when they get
it's pretty much everything
down.
Like the main console, the Amazon console was down. So if you went to the Amazon developer console and you had US East 1 selected, you couldn't get to it. So like the whole console down, even the status page was down. That's what people were kind of thought this was kind of funny too. The fact that the Amazon status page that shows like how the uptime of their services, see what services are having some issues. That was also down. You couldn't access that. But the one thing I thought was interesting is it was also doing a lot of studying about the serverless technologies or platforms that Amazon has. The downtime is primarily related to the serverless platform. So usually when these downtimes happen, it's about like
Lambda and stuff.
Yeah, it was Lambda. So it was
okay.
it was their Lambda service. I also think it was probably their like we talked about Fargate, like their serverless container service that they have. That was majorly impacted. So it was interesting to see that this downtime was primarily related to their own serverless systems, software platforms that they have.
Because that went down, that took their own dashboards down.
Yes. And also it's interesting too that Amazon's trying to push everybody into these serverless platforms.
Right.
Because definitely you could spread out, you're not tying your application to, let's say, one EC2 or one group of, VMs, and then having to worry about distributing those for liability and just scaling that out. But to use their Lambda functions, to use their serverless database platforms, that'll give you the scalability. It'll scale up, scale down, and also distribute the load automatically, so you don't really have to worry about that. But it's interesting too that if
you don't have to worry about moving your application to another provider because you can't.
That's true.
So
you're going to lock yourself into it. Yeah, that is the downside of also with the serverless, that you are locking yourself into how you.
For the most part, I mean, like I guess conceptually you could figure out how to maybe deploy it on another serverless infrastructure, but at that point, I feel like the infrastructure configuration is so heavy.
Yeah,
like that's its own thing, right? Like, okay, just take this disparate array of node scripts that together makes my application, and then figure out how to host it someplace other than AWS. That's a whole nother project. At least my understanding.
Mm-hmm. So it's interesting all some of the big companies that went down, all the websites that were based out of US East 1, because there is also a way around this, that if your application design being a multi-region application, because
that is hard.
US East 1 is one big, it's the biggest region that they have.
Yeah.
So that was the first region. But then the serverless platform is a region-based platform. So you can definitely make your application so it spans across regions. So if you have like US West 1 and you have US East 1, those are two totally separate regions. And then you just have to design your application such that can scale between those two. But then there's an extra cost and
do that.
Yeah.
But like that's really hard. Like availability zones in AWS regions, you can spread your application across availability zones.
That's easy to do. Yeah.
But spreading it across regions is difficult because much of the infrastructure as a service, which is what Amazon's selling you, right, works on a region by region basis.
That's true.
So you're going to say, oh, I have a load balancer to spread it across all of my EC2 instances that may be in multiple availability zones. If I'm not mistaken, the load balancer may be able to do that, but you won't be able to have a load balancer in front of multiple regions. That you'd have to do at a DNS level and say that we're going to somehow use Route 53 to maybe you get Route 53 can do health checks and do all that kind of fun stuff. So, but then if you're saying I'm going to bifurcate my traffic and throw some of it to this cluster of machines over there, well, how do you keep your data in sync?
They do have cross-region data syncing. But it is like an extra step that you have to do. Also, too, and
that's hard and it's slow, right? Like you talk about eventual consistency. I mean, it's one thing to have some replica sets that are living in the same region, but when you're crossing the country, to sync your data, that is not a fast operation. So then, if you end up in these situations where hopefully, if I'm in one geographic location, I'm probably hitting the same region all the time, unless that region goes down. But when that region goes down, what data was lost there? Where's and how who's the primary in those cases? And then if you have to elect another primary in a different region, that seems like
I don't know.
Maybe ridiculously complex.
We talked about data lakes. Maybe everybody should just be dumping their data.
Just throw it in data lake. Just put it in a data lake.
You can turn on cross-region replication on S3. There's a cost associated with it, but it's just a flip of a switch. You can do it. And this,
folks, is what it's like talking to Mark Coberline, your AWS solutions architect. He's like, well, you just throw it on S3 and turn on cross-region synchronization and you'll be fine.
Yep.
You don't need a database. You just need to pull files down from S3 and then, parse them. That's all you need to do. Simple.
No,
Simple.
I totally agree. It is difficult. And that is something that I actually do not, because I agree. Like if you're going to be designing your application within one region across multiple availability zones, they have the tools in place to design your application and such that can make it reliable across multiple availability zones and have it distributed with like a load balancer. And so everything's kind of is there. But once you cross multiple regions, there's definitely a lot more to consider, especially when it comes to the data too.
Yeah.
Well, Tim, I'm not certified yet. So
not certified yet.
So I'm not.
How close are we at?
That should be a disclaimer of the show. Mark, not certified yet.
Not certified yet. Yeah. So how close are you though? Like,
I'm scheduled to take
the process feeling?
I'm scheduled to take the solutions architect exam on next Thursday, I believe. So I'm going to take that next Thursday, and then hopefully by the end of July to take the final, the developer exam, and I'll be done. I'm not going to do any more than that. And then, but I'm going to start to once I get that next certification, like because based on the job ads that I'm seeing for that require that one certification, then I'll probably start sending out applications at that point.
Gotcha. And what's the testing like? Because I remember when I took my test to become a Zen certified engineer, which by the way, I am. Not that it matters, but I am. And here's the thing. For me,
is it still a valid? Did it expire?
I don't. It should have. let me tell you. I don't know if it did.
Didn't a Zen change to something else?
Oh, Zen's been bought and sold
so
multiple times.
You have to retake that, Tim.
I'm not even sure. No, I think I was a Zen certified engineer for it was PHP 5, I think. Back in the day when PHP 5 was the new thing. And then I think there was a Zen certified engineer that didn't have a language version associated with it that I did not take. I don't even know if they have it anymore. Here's why I took it. I took it because I am a self-taught developer.
Yeah.
And I wanted something for myself to say, look, you do know what you're doing because you could pass this certification. You studied it, you have an understanding, and you went, and a third party said, yep, we're gonna say you know enough to get this certification. Is it meaningful, and should you look to that just for hiring somebody?
Yeah.
Probably not. But I can see it's probably similar in your situation. It's like, well, you're gonna say you're an AWS solution, you want to work with AWS. Well, do you know AWS? Well, you know that you know AWS if you at least were certified. So I can understand the value there.
Also coming from my time in academia, trying to get back into the industry, it's a nice added.
Right, because I'm sure I would hope
I could have.
May not be true, but like if it's a company that you probably want to work for, you could come through and say, yeah, I'm not actually an AWS solutions engineer. I'm not certified. If you want me to take the certification, I will. But here, let me show you what I've been doing for the past 5 years. And you can see that I know AWS. And if it's a reasonable company that has a reasonable hiring process, they should be able to look at that and say, sure. Or maybe they don't, because for them, it's just, if you don't have the certification, that makes it easier for us just to discard a bunch of resumes. And we don't care that we may be missing out on somebody who's really good, that is really not good at taking tests.
Well, we don't live in reasonable times, Tim.
That's why we can't have nice things, Mark.
So going back to the test was actually interesting. I did like the ability. They can do it from home now.
Okay, because when I took the ZCE, I had to go to like is it Pearson View or something like that?
Yeah, they have those testing facilities. Yeah,
I had to go there.
But they still do.
Room with nothing. Here's a piece of paper and pencil, and you can take notes, but you just answer them on the computer. But you can take this at home.
Yeah. So the setup is that you have to make sure
they're just Googling the answers.
No, well, okay. You had to have a camera, because there's going to be somebody to check in with. It's interesting too. The person I checked in with, I did like a pre-checker. I had to record myself a short little to introduce myself, and then I posted that, and then I had to wait for my line in the queue, and then somebody came on. I didn't see them, but I could hear them. I also had a little text chat there, but they were like telling me, they're saying, okay, and they were telling me to take my video camera and move it all around the room. They said,
they wanted to see that you don't have any other computers or anything,
or nobody else is in the room with you, because that's also a rule. You had to be totally alone. So you have to be in your room, in a room, preferably with the door closed. Nobody else can be with you in the room at all. Nothing else can be going on. Yes, your phone has to be away from you, so you have to show with the camera where the phone is located on the other part of the room. You can't wear a watch. I had my Fitbit on. They told me to take my Fitbit off.
Okay, so you move the camera all the way in the room.
Yeah.
And then are they watching you to be like, let's see, he's not moving out of the view of the camera now? Is that what's going on? Because like, how do they know after you're like, look, there's nothing in the room that you didn't just
before
I even else?
Well, the one thing also that I do before I do check-in with their app on my phone, I take 4 pictures of all the angles around my room. So to basically do like so
when they
have
rob
different
you,
perspectives.
they know where the valuable stuff is.
So fortunately, I do have a nice room set up here in my basement. We have a spare bedroom that's down in the basement. That's
Wait,
nice.
You're in the basement?
What's where my office
and with
is.
That view? Sorry, for those of you who listen to the podcast, behind Mark is this wonderful skyscape city.
I'm virtual, Tim. I'm virtual.
I think it's New York City, which apparently he has from his basement, which is, I'm not sure how that worked, but okay.
It's Tokyo, Tim.
Is that what it is? Oh, it's Tokyo.
Virtual.
Oh,
virtual
right.
international.
That's right. You are an authorized tour guide. Why aren't you certified in tours of Japan? That's where you should be certified. Anyway,
that would be a good retirement job.
There you go.
Interesting. So
yeah,
right. So interesting. So the process,
room.
I had to take pictures around the room, and then when the person I was checking in with, they would use those pictures along with the video that I had to take my webcam. I had to move it in different. I had to show my webcam behind my computer. And so it was like I had to move in all these different directions to verify that I was alone. There's no technology around me. And the other thing too, that their software, they have this Pearson View software that basically also
Pearson View.
Yes, and it'll check all the running processes in your computer. So if I'm running, I can't run.
Oh man, how are developers even letting you install it? Like I
can't run WSL. No, but I can just turn off the processes, because what will happen is the software will check to see the running processes in your computer, and you just have to go into the system manager, just terminate those processes.
So not only that, but they've now stole all of your computer stuff with their spyware.
It's possible.
They know the layout of your house.
Spyware on computer. It's possible.
And they've slurped up all your bank accounts with their spyware. But go on, yeah.
So I had to terminate all these processes, like Dropbox, which I thought was interesting. I had to terminate that process. Definitely WSL can't have any VMs running in like VMware or any other virtual processes. You need to turn off.
And can you only take this on Windows then? Like
yes, that's also the requirement too. It has to be on Windows. Yeah, because that's it. I was considering going back to Linux.
After all this, can you still just go to a testing facility and take the test there? Because that feels like it's less invasive, and just be like, hey, it's gonna take me 3 hours to get them all the pictures and then just give them a tour of my room, or I could just drive an hour, take a test, and come back. It's basically the same thing.
You could definitely do that, but it was pretty convenient. Once I did all that, did all the setup there, it was actually pretty convenient to be in my room for like an hour and a half, and didn't have to worry about being someplace else. When I was done, just went upstairs, grabbed some coffee. It was super convenient. Even though the setup of it, you just had to be prepared that it is pretty much a process. So
that's something else, yeah.
So that's what I did last time. So I'll try to go through that process again. But now I know that's the other reason why I wanted to take that base level foundational test, even though I probably could have just skipped it. I want to kind of see what the process was like taking the exam, because I haven't really taken.
And now apparently you know.
I do, and I haven't really taken exams since I was in college. So even when I did my grad work, it was all project based. So I, taking tests and exams, that was something actually, and I don't give too many exams in my.
I was gonna say, I feel like even if the Summer of Mark doesn't result in you having a new AWS solutions job, you've got some inspiration for what you can do to your students now. You'd be like, you want to take this virtual exam? Let's send me 4 pictures of your office, and then let's get that webcam run. Take that watch off right now.
I know they try to push us in. At my college, they stopped this because of COVID, because everybody went online at that point.
Right.
But before COVID, if you wanted to teach an online course, they were definitely pushing you to use these like facial identification services that were there hooked into Blackboard. I never did it. Because I didn't really like it. I didn't, forcing somebody to do that.
So the user would be verifying it's actually them taking the test, not somebody else taking the test.
We did have an issue. There was a big thing where I think somebody in, I can't remember the exact country, but some place in like the, Iran, Iraq or something. I don't know. There was a student who was paying somebody else
to take their
in the Middle East to take their exams for them, and that actually got found out, and that was actually a big thing. And after that, then they were really trying to push everybody to make sure that the students verify themselves for online courses, especially if we're going to be doing like an exam online.
Did they send him the degree though? I mean, that just seems fair.
Yeah. So
some guy in Iran that's like, and yes, I have this associate's degree from Northampton Community College.
And how much time do we have left here?
Oh, we don't got much.
We've got one more minute. I'm going to forget about this too, Tim, because I know you've been out of the news loop, and I've been
so out of the news.
I'm trying to bring up all these things you haven't heard about.
Yeah.
Where do you host your domains, Tim?
Where do I host my domains?
Yes. Where do you buy your domains?
That's not something I'm going to say publicly.
Okay, for your security thing. Okay.
Yeah, you can't.
Well, no, I will. Well, I'll tell everybody now.
No,
I used to host them at Google Domains.
Oh, Google Domains now. Oh, did they kill that? They did kill that.
They remember Google Reader. They
Google just creates things to take them away from us, right?
Google Domains was one of my favorite Google products.
I never even used it
because I've always been a big passionate domain collector.
Yeah, I mean, same. And I mean, yes, I have mine at a variety of places. Yes. I used to use Namecheap a lot.
Yeah,
but then I think from now I just use Route 53 because it's like if there's one place I don't think is going to go away, it's probably not Route 53.
Route 53. That's what I'm doing. Yeah. But yeah, I did the same things. I would have my domains in a bunch of different places. I did back in the day, then coalesce all of my domains into GoDaddy.
Oh, wait. Oh, I have an idea for a domain right now, Mark. You ready for this? So meta. You're going to love it. Domainofthemonthclub.com, where every month you send somebody a new domain that is tailored to them. And then they can collect the domain and maybe build something with it.
And we'll charge like $100 for the domain.
Oh, well, I will charge. No, it's going to be a monthly subscription thing, right? So like, what's the domain cost anymore? Like $10? Depends. Sometimes you get the premium domains, right?
If you get a little cheap.
Right. But if we work like with OpenSRS, we can get our resellers licensed there, right? If you ever did 2 cows in OpenSRS back in the day,
I've not done that. No, I know what 2 cows is, and I know what you mean, but I don't.
Yeah, back in the day. So then we could, so $120 a minute. So maybe like $200 for a year subscription to Domain of the Month Club. And then we come up with unique domains, interesting domains. And I can see like this for the entrepreneur in your life that isn't doing enough and needs a new idea every month, right?
They just need one more domain for that idea that they'll never work on.
Then it's like, oh, that's a great, you know what, I could build and then a partnership, like we can give a discount for a pro subscription to ChatGPT, because apparently that's all you really need to run your own business now is you just tell ChatGPT tell it what to do.
We could dial into the API ChatGPT to basically generate these domain names too.
And we could do that too. Let me go buy this domain right now. Domain of the Month Club. It's taken? Are you serious?
So getting back to, like I said, I've had all my domain names on GoDaddy, but one thing I hate about GoDaddy.
On GoDaddy?
Yes. Well, I did it because of the price. At the time, this was also good. This is like close to $15, $16 18 years ago, a long time ago. And I did this move to kind of get everything together in one domain host. It's probably because for the cost, because of the time, like GoDaddy was actually pretty good. But at the same time, because I had a probably if I looked at all my domains I had and where I was hosting them at, GoDaddy had most of the domains that I had, so I just pulled them all into one.
I just put them there. Yeah.
But the one thing that you hate about GoDaddy, they try to upsell you on everything. You try to buy a domain name,
little bit.
I'm going to tell you in hosting, some advertising, personal web page, email address, everything, right? So they try to upsell you the whole time. I hated that. Once then I discovered Google Domains, because one thing I loved about Google Domains, they don't upsell you. They're like, if you buy a domain, do a good domain name search, you buy it from them or rent it from them in a sense. They don't try to sell you anything else. It had privacy already included into it, which GoDaddy was trying to do an extra $5 a year charge on that to hide your address information,
just to put it behind a PO box or something.
But GoDaddy or Google Domains did that for free. And so it was just and also the interface was super clean and super elegant. I love nice, clean design, clean interfaces. I thought Google Domains was actually one of the best designed products that they had. And a couple weeks ago, they killed it. They sold it to Squarespace. And that is
by the way, I just want to mention,
I would host my
domains.
This
podcast is not brought to you by Squarespace.
It probably will never be sponsored by Squarespace.
Never going to. Yeah, no way Squarespace looks at this podcast and the demographic that we may or may not have, because Mark will not look at those stats and says that those are people that we can sell the idea of creating a website to. No.
So they sold it to Squarespace. I guess the transition is going to happen over the next year. So they sold it, but they're still you can still have your domains on. But what are people talking about online now? We're going to be sending your domains to. So,
but they're not going to keep them at squarespace.com, where you can make a website with. I've heard so many ads.
Of all the places they could have sold that to, like, seriously, if they would have, Namecheap would have bought it. I would have just been fine with that.
Yeah.
I'd be so fine with that. But all right, cool. All right.
Can we think of a worse place to sell it?
Back to GoDaddy. That would have been amazing. I spent all this money to transfer my domains over, and then eventually I just went back to there.
It's like, that's on my GoDaddy. Oh, that would have been great. All right. Well, so I've never used. I don't think I've used Google Domains.
So what I'm going to be doing over the next year is, after I see each one of my domain names come up to be
renewal, you just
renew them.
You can do that early, right? You could just renew them now for next.
I don't want to. I could probably be like $3. I don't even want to think about the money.
Yeah.
Because I'm also, what I'm going to do next year. Do I really need to have these domain names?
Yeah.
I might be canceling probably half of them. So I don't know. We'll see.
But no, you don't lose any money though, because you just re-register and it'll push the registration out a year, right?
That's correct. Like, you don't lose the time in a sense,
right?
But
so
if I was going to do it in one big mass migration of all these, it would just be the cost. I'm like, I don't know if
you don't want to hit that.
Yeah.
You want to spread the cost. Here's what Mark's saying, folks. You want to spread the cost.
Financial advisor that I am.
Over non-certified, but still, you want to spread that over a year, and that is why you too should join the domainofthemonthclub.com.
I think that should have been the title for the show. It's not certified.
Not certified? Well, it'll be the title of the next show, because this is laser dependencies. And that's just because I was talking about the laser cutter 2-3 weeks ago, whenever we talked last, and you were talking about dependencies, and we thought we'd continue that conversation, but we didn't. So here's the title for next week's show. Should be not certified in this domain. What do you think? Not certified in this domain. Well, but maybe you will be. When do you?
We'll see.
When you taking the test?
We'll see. It's scheduled to be Thursday.
So, oh boy. So that means next Step Friday show, Mark is either going to be very elated or not very elated. I feel like it's one of those.
Yeah, we'll see.
One of those two. Well, I think I was listening to the last part of our show as I mixed it, which isn't online yet, but it will be soon. And it's talking about how I have this absurd desire to make things with my laser and sell them, even though I will never make any money doing that, I don't think. But and that's what we're going to talk about this week, I guess, in dependencies, but we didn't. So next week we'll talk about all the domains that we are not certified in. Anything else that I guess I should pay attention to the news.
We could do that. We could go through our domains. We're thinking about, do we really need to have, we could play the domain name again. I think we did this at one point. We could say, do we really need to have this domain?
We can play the domain name game. I have so few anymore. I used to have such a collection. And it's all the things that you're like, oh yeah, I'm totally gonna build this idea. I'm gonna totally build this project. People are gonna love it, man. I'm gonna build. What is it? I had bytecost.com, BYTE cost.com, where I was going to show you how to buy the cheapest hard drives, because we would just figure out
Per byte.
like what
There
it
you
costs.
go.
You could do like, yeah, I want it to be 7200 RM, this, that. It would be bytecost.com. It was gonna. What was that big site back in the day where we found hardware?
Loofah.me.
Loofah.me?
No, that was my domain name.
Loofah. Next week we will find out what loofah.me was. What in the world?
that was one of the domain names I have. I think I mentioned that to you. Like that was an idea. An idea that I had.
Well, what are you going to do with it?
Gotta clean your social media.
That's right. I forgot about that. Oh, this episode brought to you by Loofah.me. You're done with Twitter. You want to get rid of
It's a great idea.
What you need is Loofah.me.
Yep.
All right. Yeah. No, I forgot about that. I like that one. I like that one. Oh boy. All righty. Well, hopefully all goes well with your test.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll definitely be a week of prep. Yeah, I've been doing just some reading. Haven't been taking many practice exams, but that's usually what I'll do probably a few days before. So doing some practice exams and questions and preparing for that. So yeah,
I'll try to get what I have uploaded, and then I'll upload this show too. So hopefully,
how's the family? Even though we get to talk about it during.
Doing good, good. New one's sleeping pretty well.
That's good.
Probably better than any of the other ones at this stage. So we'll see how long that lasts. So she seems to be a little bit of a sleepyhead, which is nice.
Are your oldest? What's your oldest? Your daughter's age? Your oldest?
She's going to be 15.
Oh, so at the age she could help out a little bit more, right?
Yeah. They're all holding.
Yeah. That's good.
Everybody loves holding the baby.
Eventually, once you keep these. Once the kids grow up, it's just kind of like the parenting could just offload that.
Free range children. After a while, they just take care of themselves.
Yeah, there you go.
Just collect the eggs. Something like that.
All right.
I think we have a sign downstairs that says something like that. It says, I don't know if it's caution, free range children or something like that.
Free range, yeah. Just be careful where you step.
Yeah, be careful where you step. It's free range children. Anyway, I've got some stories about that, obviously, but anyway. All right, I'm going to end the stream. For those of you who are watching the stream, go and listen to